I've previously mentioned that there were 12 teams last year that had 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. What difference would the return of the emergency quarterback rule make for 2023? Because, and I think the more we understand about this rule, the less I like it. If the idea is to prevent this debacle that we saw in the NFC Championship where the 49ers suffered 2 quarterback injuries and it's either Brock Purdy handing off to everyone and anyone and not being able to throw, or Christian McCaffrey with the wristband on trying to figure out the offense on the fly, and it's bad TV and no one wants to watch it, and that could happen in any standalone game in any given week and crater the ratings. If you're going to create an opportunity to put a third quarterback in uniform on game day, why are you requiring that third quarterback already be on the 53-man roster?
100%.
And at the end of the day, 13 teams for now have 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster, up from 12 last year. And it could change between now and then. Sean Payton talked about this yesterday. He's going to be interested to see how many teams have 3 on the roster approaching week 1. And Payton also said when they first started talking about this, we just assumed it would be a guy you could bring up from the practice squad and put in the extra uniform on game day. Again, if the idea is to prevent a shit show, make it easier for teams to have the third quarterback. If you're trying to prevent the ratings for a game from going from 20 million to 10 million because one of the teams has no quarterbacks by the end of the first quarter, make it easier to have a third quarterback.
Exactly. I mean, you said it. I don't know. This is a common, I mean, in the NFL, I don't want to say common. I'm not saying that exactly right. But the problem is, and like you said, it needs to not count on the 53-man roster because it's about value of assets a lot of these times with the 53-man roster. Yeah, teams, the NFL is a league. We don't want the proverbial shit show of like, wait, a running back's playing quarterback in the game. What the hell is going on, right?
Proverbial.
But the coaches are going to take those risks every now and then. The coaches are going to take those risks every now and then. One, they're going to go, wait, we're not going to lose 2 quarterbacks. 2, as you know, it's hard to juggle these rosters. They got guys that are, maybe banged up that they don't, like, he's really good. He's going to be good for us. We need to keep him as a D lineman, but I can't, put him out on cut him, let him clear waivers or anything like that. I can't mess with that. Oh, we have a 5th or 6th receiver, and, there's just too much juggling of the roster stuff there that's too important, let alone some of those guys are, we have a future for that guy. We think he can be a major contributor. And they're going to finagle to make that work rather than, let's keep one of these roster spots for a guy that's really not that good. We don't have a future for, but we're just going to keep him just in case so TV ratings and things don't look too bad. Coaches are going to take that risk as long as that's going to take a spot. And I think that's the biggest problem. And I think you're saying it right. It just needs to not count altogether just to protect the integrity of the game there a little bit.
Don't take it from me, though. Here's a little from Sean Payton yesterday talking about this dynamic and his belief, his expectation that this third quarterback is somebody who could have come from the practice squad with a game day call-up. Have a listen.
I think there were a lot of people that felt like if the new rule said, hey, you can bring a third up off your practice squad on game day, that would have possibly been a good solution. The new rule basically says if you keep a third on your active, you can bring him up free. We like, the 2 guys that are on the roster, and we think that we're going to have a good practice squad quarterback. That's the approach we're going to take. Now, there's some teams that will keep a third on their active, so it's just really your decision how you want to handle your 53. So the new rule still requires you to keep a third on your 53. I'll be anxious to see, call it a week from now, how many teams have 3 on their 53. I'm sure there'll be a few, but we'll have a third, though, in the building.
He also characterized what happened to the 49ers against the Eagles in the NFC Championship, a once every 4-year dynamic.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it happens quite that often.
Right.
And Chris, it's funny, one of the teams that is keeping 3 is the 49ers. How could they not keep 3? How could they not have an emergency quarterback? They're the team. And you could be tempted if you're the 49ers to say, it just happened to us. It's not going to happen to us again. It just happened. Surely it's not going to happen again. But if it would happen to them again and they weren't in a position where they were taking advantage of the emergency quarterback rule, could you imagine the reaction by media and fans that the team that is the poster child for this rule didn't have a third quarterback, and they have Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, and Brandon Allen on the roster? And frankly, another thing we didn't talk about is the Trey Lance trade. The fact that Brandon Allen made the 53-man roster bolsters my theory that Trey Lance wasn't QB3. Trey Lance was QB4 in San Francisco.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that, but the gap as great as people maybe think or whatever. Obviously there was comfort, with that third quarterback in San Francisco there to trust him to be that guy, knows the offense, whatever else. I mean, Brandon Allen's, he's a good third to have. He's played a ton in preseasons because Joe Burrow didn't get to play and has had issues there. So that's why they kept him. It definitely gave them the flexibility to kind of do whatever they wanted with Trey Lance. That's for sure. So, either way, I don't think they were going to make him the fourth, but I know what you're saying. Now, the other picture here with the quarterback situation too, Mike. I mean, yeah, Sean Payton said it. You said it. These guys, one, they don't believe it's going to happen. They don't believe we're ever going to really get to the third. That's not really going to happen. Now, the 49ers should believe that. They've been quarterback injury bug for the whole Kyle Shanahan tenure there. So, they're one there that, and Brock Purdy coming off an elbow injury. Okay, that'd be smart to do for right now. I think it makes a lot of sense. But, yeah, I think a lot of these teams, it's all about juggling the roster a little bit. And Sean Payton, he's got receiver injuries and things banged up, and he's trying to make it work. So he's not going to carry that extra roster spot for the quarterback. He's going to have it on the practice squad. And I think you're going to see the majority of teams continue to do that.
The term analytics has become relevant the past 10, 15 years to football as it relates to game day decision-making, but analytics has been a part of personnel management for decades in the NFL, even if they didn't call it that. And part of the analysis is, what's the chance I'm going to need this guy? This guy who's taken up spot number 53 on the roster. Versus what's the chance I'm going to need the other guy that I would keep instead of QB3.
Right.
And this is a guy who I can call up to be on special teams. This is a guy who's a backup offensive lineman. This is a guy that is a backup defensive back, and I've got some injuries potentially. I've got more roster flexibility at other positions where I know I'm going to have needs throughout the course of the year versus the break glass in event of emergency that is most likely never going to happen guy who is bumping off the roster somebody I could actually use. And you're willing to roll the dice on not needing a third quarterback. And the other theory, too, is, and I remember when Mike McCarthy said this years ago when he was with the Green Bay Packers, talking about why they only carried 2 quarterbacks on the roster. He said, if you get down to your third quarterback, you're screwed anyway. And on game day, that may be the case. Now, the 49ers got down to QB3 last year, but they were able to work him and get him ready, and he played 7 games, and he did well. But generally speaking, the guy who's number 3 on your depth chart is number 3 for a reason, and if he has to be thrust into the game, does it really matter? Is he going to lead a 30-point comeback or whatever the case may be to win the game? It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.